We spend our entire lives, don't we, trusting the familiar hum of the world beneath our feet. The solid ground, the predictable cycle of day and night, the comforting rhythm of gravity holding us gently in place. It's a quiet, unconscious faith, a foundation we rarely question, a constant in a world of change. But tonight, my friend, let's allow that faith to expand, to stretch beyond the edges of our known world. Let's journey to places where that very trust in solid ground is gently, beautifully challenged, where the rules we know, the physics we take for granted, simply melt away like a forgotten dream. Imagine, for a moment, drifting toward worlds where the ground itself surrenders, melting into oceans of liquid fire, where the sky, instead of offering gentle rain, pours down heavy, molten iron into the dark. These are not nightmares, but the breathtaking realities of a universe far stranger and far more magnificent than we often allow ourselves to consider. And in that strangeness, in that profound indifference to our earthly concerns, lies a deep, liberating peace. Hello, and welcome back to the Sleepy Science Podcast. I'm so incredibly glad you're here, ready to embark on this journey with me, not just into the cosmos, but into a deeper quiet within yourself. If these midnight wanderings, these gentle explorations of the universe's most bizarre and beautiful corners, help you finally untether from the day's demands, finding solace and perspective in the vastness, a quiet subscription is always a welcome companion on this shared path. Your support helps us continue these voyages into the dark. But right now, in this exact moment, there is absolutely nothing you need to do. There is nowhere else you need to be. The day is entirely finished. Whatever you tried to build today, whatever you managed or carried or worried over, it's time to put it down. Let it settle, like dust motes dancing in a shaft of moonlight, eventually finding their rest. I know how tightly we grip our days, don't we? The endless to-do lists that stretch into the night, the mental rehearsals of tomorrow's challenges, the quiet hum of expectations that follow us even into the quietest hours. It's a natural instinct, this desire to control, to manage, to keep all the spinning plates aloft. But for these precious moments, for this shared journey, let's just unclench. The stars will keep their vigil, the universe will continue its grand, indifferent dance, and you, my friend, can simply be. This is a quiet corner of the cosmos, just for us, where the universe does the heavy lifting, allowing you to simply observe. Before we truly launch into the deep, before our minds begin to drift among distant galaxies, let's find our anchor here, in the gentle quiet of your room. Bring your attention away from the vastness of the universe for just a moment and bring it back into the space around you. Notice the quiet. Feel the safety of the walls, holding back the outside world, creating your own personal sanctuary. This is your safe harbor, your warm, familiar launchpad into the infinite. Now, take a very slow, deliberate breath in, feeling the cool, calming air fill the empty space in your chest. Hold it there for a single, soft second, gently acknowledging whatever tension you might still be holding onto, like a tiny, distant star you can simply observe. And then exhale slowly, letting the entire structure of that stress simply collapse, a gentle sigh into the dark. Let your shoulders sink deeply into the mattress. They have borne enough weight for one rotation of the earth. Allow your jaw to unclench, separating just slightly, releasing the unspoken words, the silent grinding of the day. Let the small, tired muscles around your eyes completely soften, surrendering to the heavy, comforting pull of the dark. There is no need to hold on to anything anymore. You are held. Tonight, we're not just looking at stars, we're looking for lessons. Lessons in letting go, in quiet surrender, in realizing that the universe knows nothing of our deadlines, our worries, our endless striving. And in that magnificent, profound anonymity, there is a liberating peace. We're so heavily conditioned by the architecture of this one tiny, comfortable planet that we sometimes forget it's actually a rare exception. We spend so much of our waking lives trying to enforce order, We organize our schedules, we draw rigid lines on maps, we construct buildings with perfect right angles, trying to prove that we have some kind of permanent control over our environment. But when you look up at the night sky, you are looking at a masterclass in beautiful impermanence. You are looking at a cosmic theater where the physical rules we live by are routinely bent, shattered, and completely ignored. Before we cross the threshold into deep space, I invite you to try to visualize the Earth shrinking behind us. A pale blue marble holding every person you know, every deadline you dread, every concrete structure you have ever walked through. Watch it get smaller and smaller until it is nothing more than a pale speck of dust caught in a single distant beam of starlight. All of it, the noise, the rush, the heavy expectations, is confined to that tiny speck. Out here, none of it reaches us. The universe does not know your name, and honestly, in that anonymity, there is a profound and liberating peace. We are stepping into a realm where time isn't measured in hours or business days, but in millions of years and billions of miles. The frantic pace of human life cannot survive out here. It slows down, it freezes, it fades away entirely, leaving only the slow, majestic movements of celestial bodies. In this vast, dark ocean, we are searching for the anomalies, the beautiful misfits of the galaxy. Think about how much energy it takes for you to maintain the structures of your daily life. The exhausting, relentless effort it takes to keep everything from falling apart day after day. Now, I want you to imagine letting all of that effort go. Tonight, we are visiting places that have already fallen apart, or perhaps never settled into order to begin with. And they're absolutely breathtaking in their chaos. We are going to observe these broken worlds not with fear, but with a deep, quiet awe. We're going to watch the brutal physics of the universe stretch and distort reality, turning mountains into floating vapor and crushing layers of carbon into enormous, dark diamond cores. As you listen to the shape of these bizarre planets, let your own rigid thoughts begin to melt away. Let the boundaries of your physical room dissolve into the endless black of the cosmos. You are not a person trapped in a stressful life right now, burdened by the demands of tomorrow. You are a quiet observer, floating safely in the dark, entirely untouchable. No extreme heat can reach you here. No crushing gravitational pull can find you. You are simply drifting, a silent ghost in the cosmic machine, watching the beautiful devastation of the universe unfold in slow motion. Everything you thought was permanent is about to be rewritten. And in that realization, I hope you find the ultimate permission to finally let go, to let the world spin on its axis without you needing to push it, to let the chaotic universe take the watch while you drift safely and deeply away into sleep. The airlock is open, the tether is released, and the endless dark is waiting. Let us begin our descent into the strange, broken architecture of the galaxy. And so, with our earthly worries shrinking to a pale speck of dust behind us, we begin our true journey, leaving behind the one thing you have likely relied on your entire life, the illusion of solid ground. Here on Earth, we build our lives on what we perceive as utterly stable. We think of rock as the ultimate symbol of endurance, don't we? We carve our names into it, hoping for some small measure of immortality. We construct our heaviest monuments out of it, expecting them to outlast generations, standing tall and silent against the passage of time. The very foundations of our homes, our cities, our sense of permanence, are rooted in the unyielding nature of stone. It's a quiet, unconscious faith, a comfort we rarely question. But out here, in the deeper, harsher neighborhoods of the galaxy, it seems pretty clear that rock is really just another fluid, waiting for the universe to whisper a different tune, waiting for the right kind of heat or pressure to reveal its true, adaptable nature. What if even the most unyielding things are just waiting for the cosmos to show them a different dance? Imagine, if you can, a world that has crept so agonizingly close to its host star that its entire existence seems to be defined by fire. This isn't just a localized volcanic eruption, not a temporary crack in the crust that heals over time. Current models suggest this could be a permanent global reality. Because observational data points to this planet being locked in a tight, desperate orbit, it's highly probable that the exact same side constantly faces a sun that looms impossibly huge in the sky, a searing eye perpetually fixed upon it. Under that relentless, punishing radiation, the very concept of geography begins to break down. The temperatures soar so high that the ground itself simply surrenders. Continents slump, soften, and eventually they just run like water, or perhaps even boil away into silicate vapor, becoming part of the very air. If you could somehow hover safely above the day side of this world, protected by some impossible shield, you likely wouldn't see valleys or plains or rocky shores as we know them. You would look down upon a vast, unbroken ocean of molten stone. Try to picture a horizon that glows in deep, pulsing shades of orange and cherry red. A living, breathing ember stretching to infinity. Currents of liquid rock, sluggish and immensely heavy, push and pull against each other in a slow, hypnotic rhythm, like a cosmic lava lamp on an unimaginable scale. There is no solid surface to stand on anywhere. The boundary between the planet and the fire has been completely, and perhaps forever, erased. It's a breathtaking, silent inferno, far, far away, simply existing in its fiery glory. When I contemplate these magma oceans, this profound fluidity of what we consider solid, it profoundly shifts the way I look at the quiet Earth outside my own window. It reminds me that our steady, stable continents are likely just a temporary, fortunate pause in the chaotic timeline of the universe. We just happen to live in a rare, temperate moment where the rocks have been allowed to cool, to solidify into the familiar landscapes we know and build upon. But out there, geology is an active, violent furnace, a constant process of creation and destruction. And yet, from a safe distance, even an ocean of glowing lava is just a silent, beautiful ember drifting through the absolute dark. It doesn't ask to be fixed, it doesn't panic, and it certainly doesn't worry about tomorrow. It simply exists, caught halfway between a planet and an eruption, a testament to the universe's raw, unapologetic power. It just is, and in its being, there's a strange lesson in acceptance. But extreme heat isn't the only force that can unmake a world. We are so conditioned to seeing planets as perfect, stable spheres, neat and tidy in our mental models. Gravity, we are taught, pulls everything neatly toward the center, creating those smooth, round globes that fill our childhood textbooks, symbols of cosmic order. But gravity isn't always a peaceful organizer. Sometimes, it ceases to be a gentle tether and becomes something more like an executioner, or perhaps a cosmic sculptor of chaos, mercilessly reshaping what it once formed. Let's move quietly toward a giant world, perhaps a bit larger than our own Jupiter, caught in what looks like a fatal gravitational dance. As it races around its star, competing an entire year in just a matter of hours, the gravitational pull on its near side is vastly stronger than the pull on its far side. This difference creates immense tidal stress. It's the exact same force that gently pulls the oceans on Earth, creating our familiar tides, but magnified to a scale that honestly shatters human comprehension. This planetary giant is no longer round. The raw, unyielding power of the star is physically stretching the world, pulling it violently out of shape, distorting it into an elongated, egg-like oval. Imagine the sheer mechanical agony of that process. A world millions of times heavier than the Earth, being kneaded and stretched like clay by an invisible, cosmic hand. The internal friction generated by this severe distortion likely creates heat that essentially boils the planet from the inside out, turning its deep interior into a churning, infernal engine, a constant internal struggle. But the story of this distorted sphere is even more tragic and strangely more beautiful than just its shape. It appears the same tidal force that stretches, it is slowly winning the war. The star is actively consuming its companion. Data suggests material is being stripped away from the planet's upper atmosphere, drawn across the cold vacuum of space, and swallowed entirely by the hungry star. It leaves behind a long, ghostly tail of gas, resembling a massive comet made from the remnants of a dying world. This is a planet in the active process of losing itself. It is being unmade, orbit by agonizing orbit, year by agonizing year, a slow, majestic dissolution. When you are lying in the dark, feeling overwhelmed by the structures of your own life, by the rigid demands that feel impossible to escape, think about this distorted world. Think about how even the most massive, imposing structures in the universe are completely vulnerable to the forces around them. Permanence is, in a way, a myth we invent to feel safe, a comforting story we tell ourselves. Even planets can be stretched, eroded, and eventually erased from the sky. There is a strange, quiet comfort in knowing that absolutely nothing is meant to last forever. You don't have to hold everything perfectly together, because the universe itself allows things to fall apart, to change, to transform. It's a profound lesson in letting go, written on a cosmic scale. Let us leave the dying giant behind in the silence and drift towards something entirely different, a world that challenges our very definition of ground, not through fire or distortion, but through its very essence. Our Earth is built primarily on silicates and iron. It is a specific recipe of rock and metal that feels normal to us, simply because it's all we have ever known. But the galaxy is a vast and varied kitchen, and the distribution of elements isn't the same everywhere. The universe, it seems, loves to experiment. We are approaching a world born in a nebula that astronomers suspect was exceptionally rich in carbon. From the cold vacuum of space, it might not look particularly dramatic. It might be dark, dense, and remarkably quiet, showing no signs of the molten fury or the tidal destruction we just witnessed. But the true majesty of this planet is buried deep underground. As you descend through the crust of this carbon-rich world, the atmospheric pressure begins to build. It rises rapidly to levels that would instantly crush any machine humanity has ever built. Under this unimaginable, crushing weight, simple carbon atoms are forced into incredibly tight, rigid structures. On Earth, we mine tiny, flawed fragments of these structures, polish them, place them on rings, and call them diamonds. We imbue them with value, with sparkle, with light. But here, on this strange world, we aren't talking about scattered gems hiding in the dirt. We're talking about entire geological layers. Astrophysicists theorize that deep beneath the crust, wrapping tightly around the core of the planet, there could be mantles of compressed graphite and pure, crystalline diamond hundreds of miles thick. Imagine an underground realm composed almost entirely of dark, pressurized crystal. There is absolutely no light down there to make it sparkle or shine. It is a kingdom of absolute darkness and immense, silent pressure, a secret heart of unparalleled hardness. The geology of such a world operates on physical rules we can barely begin to comprehend. Heat from the core would likely travel through these diamond layers very differently than it travels through earthly magma. The tectonic plates, if they exist at all, would be heavy, rigid slabs of carbon-based rock grating against one another in the pitch black. It's a planet that took the exact same element we associate with soft pencil lead and used it to forge the hardest, most unyielding interior imaginable. It makes you realize how wonderfully limited our earthly imagination truly is. We tend to assume that deep underground, every planet hides a fiery heart of liquid rock just like ours. But nature seems endlessly creative and deeply unapologetic. It builds worlds out of crushed ice, out of molten iron, and out of darkened diamond. It uses whatever it has, shaping it under gravity and time, without any concern for what we consider normal. It just creates in its own magnificent way. These broken, molten, and crystal worlds are scattered all across the cosmos. They're floating silently right now, performing their strange physics while you lie safely in your bed. You are completely insulated from their extreme heat, their crushing pressures, and their violent orbits. But knowing they are out there changes the way you might feel about the dark room around you. It makes the quiet of your bedroom feel like an incredible, shielded sanctuary. The ground beneath your house isn't melting. The gravity holding you to your mattress isn't threatening to tear you apart. You are resting on a rare, cool, and peaceful crust of a very gentle world. All those molten realities and deformed spheres are millions of light years away. They are just stories in the dark, whispered across the void. You can let go of your need for absolute stability, knowing that chaos is just the natural order of things. Let the universe handle the chaos. Let the stars tear apart their planets. Let the oceans of lava churn in the deep silence of space. Your only job tonight is to sink deeper into the safety of this exact moment, to feel the solid, comforting presence of the bed beneath you, to let the breath slowly leave your body, taking the last remnants of the day with it. We have so much further to go and so many stranger skies to see. But for now, just drift, just listen, and just rest. And so, having witnessed the very ground beneath our feet transform into molten rivers and crystalline depths, we now turn our gaze upwards. That gentle breath you just took? It's a luxury, my friend. It's a delicate, life-sustaining miracle we often take for granted. Out here, in the vast swirling expanse beyond Earth, the sky isn't always a welcoming canopy. It's a canvas for forces beyond our wildest dreams, a theater of extreme chemistry and unimaginable kinetic violence, yet equally mesmerizing in its raw power. Here on Earth, when we look up, we generally see weather as a cycle of gentle renewal. We watch soft, white clouds of water vapor drift lazily across a pale blue canvas, a comforting backdrop to our days. We listen to the steady, rhythmic sound of rain against the glass, washing the dust from the air, nourishing the thirsty earth. Weather, to us, is familiar, predictable in its patterns. It's a comforting background noise to our daily lives, something we try to track, predict, and understand. But as we push further into the strange architecture of the cosmos, we have to completely abandon our earthly definition of a sky. Out here, an atmosphere is rarely a blanket of comfort. It often acts more like a crucible, a dynamic engine of elemental transformation, utterly indifferent to our notions of gentleness or calm. Let's approach a massive, gaseous world, locked in a suffocatingly tight orbit around a searingly hot sun. Imagine a planet so close to its star that its very existence is a testament to extreme heat. It appears that temperatures on the day side of this planet are so extreme that they literally break down the very bonds of molecules. In this kind of relentless, unyielding heat, the materials we consider to be heavy and permanent on Earth don't simply melt, as we saw with the lava oceans. No, they evaporate. They turn into gas, becoming part of the very air. Try to picture looking up, not into a clear blue stratosphere, but into a hazy, glowing expanse filled with the suspended vapors of heavy metals. Iron, the very metal that forms the core of our own planet, heated beyond its breaking point, rises into the alien sky as a ghostly, shimmering gas, perhaps even glowing faintly with the stars' punishing light. But this world holds an even stranger secret. Because observations suggest it is tidally locked, facing its star with only one hemisphere, the dark side of the planet remains plunged in eternal, freezing shadow. This creates an unimaginable temperature differential, an extreme imbalance that the atmosphere desperately tries to correct. Massive, howling winds, born from this colossal pressure difference, carry this vaporized iron away from the blistering day side, rushing it desperately toward the permanent night. As that iron gas crosses the terminator line, that boundary between eternal day and eternal night, into the cold dark, the temperature suddenly and violently collapses. The iron vapor, no longer able to remain a gas, condenses. It forms thick, heavy, dark clouds. But these aren't clouds of soft moisture. They are dense, terrifying structures of liquid metal floating in the atmosphere, perhaps swirling with a metallic sheen, reflecting the distant stars like a dark, polished mirror. And then, in the absolute pitch black of the alien night, it begins to rain. Droplets of molten iron, heavy and incandescent, fall from the sky, plunging through the deep atmospheric layers. It's a relentless, heavy downpour of liquid steel, perhaps echoing with a faint metallic hiss if you could hear it. A constant cycle of heat and condensation that likely never, ever stops. It's a breathtaking, silent deluge of elemental poetry. A world where the very sky is a forge. In other corners of the galaxy, it seems the clouds aren't made of metal, but of stone. On certain hot worlds, researchers believe the atmospheric pressure and heat allow silicate particles to condense high in the air. Silicates are the exact same materials that make up the sand on our beaches and the clear glass in our windows. Imagine a sky filled with vast, drifting clouds of fine mineral grains and sharp, microscopic glass. These clouds might scatter the starlight in strange, beautiful colors, glowing with an eerie luminescence from afar, like distant nebulae, a celestial kaleidoscope. But to fly through them would be to fly through a blinding, abrasive storm of sand and shattered glass, a truly unforgiving environment. It reminds us how truly delicate our own atmosphere is, and how privileged we are to breathe it, to exist within its gentle embrace. When we hear words like cloud or rain, our minds immediately reach for the soft, wet comfort of earth. But out here, those words are stripped of all their gentleness. Nature is simply moving heat and condensing matter, utterly indifferent to how harsh or violent the result might be. It just creates, in its own magnificent, sometimes brutal way. Now, I want you to think about the wind. When I walk through the front door of my apartment, facing northwest, I sometimes feel a sharp gust of wind, a whisper of the outside world. On Earth, a severe storm is an event that forces us to retreat indoors, to seek shelter. We fear the raw power of moving air when it reaches 100 miles an hour, a force that can uproot trees and tear down structures. But on the hot Jupiters of the galaxy, the wind isn't a temporary storm that will eventually blow over. It is a permanent, global river of force that defies all human intuition, all earthly comparison. On Earth, a strong gust sends us indoors. But out here, wind isn't a gust. It's a permanent, screaming river of force, wrapping around an entire world. Because one side of these giant planets is forever roasted by the star, and the other side is forever frozen, the atmosphere is caught in a desperate, endless struggle to balance the temperature. This creates a pressure gradient so immense that models indicate the winds roar across the equator at supersonic speeds. We aren't talking about a gentle breeze or even an earthly hurricane, which are mere whispers in comparison. We are talking about winds moving at thousands of miles per hour, winds that travel significantly faster than the speed of sound. If you were somehow suspended within that atmosphere, an impossible thought. The sheer kinetic energy of the air moving past you would be absolute, a solid, invisible wall of unimaginable force. It is a global conveyor belt of heat, a permanent, screaming flow that wraps around the entire planet, tearing the clouds into long, horizontal bands of blurred color, creating a truly alien, striped appearance, a masterpiece of fluid dynamics on a cosmic scale. The boundary between wind and pure, unadulterated force has been entirely erased. It's the universe's breath, untamed and magnificent, and utterly beyond our comprehension. Yet, it exists, always. When you lie in your bed tonight, or perhaps sit by a quiet window feeling a faint, ordinary breeze, think of those supersonic rivers of gas tearing across the face of a distant giant. It makes the storms of our world feel incredibly small, manageable, and wonderfully temporary, doesn't it? The cosmos is filled with an overwhelming amount of raw energy, an endless dance of power. But you are safe. You are insulated from that chaos, observing it from the quiet, still sanctuary of your room. Feel the texture of the blanket resting over you right now. It's a simple barrier against the cold, a woven defense that keeps you perfectly temperate. Out there, entire planetary atmospheres are tearing themselves apart, trying to achieve the exact equilibrium you have right at this very moment. The ground beneath your home isn't moving. The air in your room is perfectly still. The ferocious, supersonic currents are light years away, completely incapable of touching you. You are held safe and sound. Sometimes, however, the true strangeness of an alien sky isn't found in its violence, but in its absolute, stubborn secrecy. Not every planet is willing to show us its storms, its fiery rains, or its raging winds. We are drifting now toward a giant world wrapped entirely in a thick, hazy, impenetrable veil. When astronomers point their most powerful instruments at a planet like this, hoping to read the chemical signatures of its deep interior, they often find nothing but a flat, muted wall, a blank canvas. The planet seems to be deliberately hiding. High in the upper atmosphere, intense ultraviolet light from the parent star reacts with exotic gases to create complex particles. These particles form a thick, global smog. It is a hazy layer of photochemical soot that hangs high above the actual weather systems of the world. This haze scatters light perfectly. It creates an opaque, unbroken curtain that blocks any possible view of the interior. We don't know if there are supersonic winds churning below. We don't know if there are strange rains of liquid rock or even a hidden, crushed surface underneath. The planet remains a silhouette. It is a beautiful mystery, wrapped in a chemical shroud, refusing to be known, a cosmic secret whispered into the dark. And there's a profound beauty in this refusal, isn't there? A quiet reminder that not everything needs to be solved, not everything needs to be seen clearly. There is a profound, quiet beauty in this refusal. We live in an age where we feel entitled to understand absolutely everything. We believe that every question must have an immediate answer and that every problem must be solved before we can rest. But the universe doesn't owe us clarity. Some worlds will keep their secrets forever, hiding peacefully behind veils of high-altitude haze. It's a gentle reminder that it's perfectly okay not to have all the answers tonight. You don't need to solve every problem before you fall asleep. You don't need to see clearly through the haze of your own anxieties, or understand exactly what tomorrow will bring. Words like weather, sky, rain, and cloud are just tiny earthly concepts that fail to capture the grand, terrifying beauty of the galaxy. And just as our language fails to define these alien skies, our anxious thoughts often fail to accurately define our own lives. We worry, we plan, we stress, trying to predict the weather of our own futures. But sometimes, the most peaceful thing you can do is simply acknowledge the mystery, to accept that some things are hidden, some things are chaotic, and some things are simply beyond your control. Let yourself rest in that quiet unknown. Let the iron rain fall in the dark. Let the supersonic winds howl across empty giants. Let the hazy veils keep their secrets. The universe is vast and strange and functioning exactly as it should without any of your intervention. Your only task right now is to breathe, to feel the steady rhythm of your chest rising and falling, and to let the heavy, alien skies drift further and further away, leaving you with nothing but the quiet, comforting dark. And so, having witnessed the skies transform into theaters of iron rain and silent, hazy secrets, we now turn our gaze to the deepest, most absolute dark, where we find the most peaceful wanderers of all. We are so heavily conditioned to believe that absolutely everything in life needs an anchor, aren't we? It's an ingrained human truth. We look at our own solar system, and we see a family of planets, all tethered obediently to a central, brilliant star. The sun provides the light, it provides the heat, and most importantly, it provides the structure, the predictable rhythm. It gives a planet an orbit, a year, a comforting cycle of changing seasons. We structure our own lives in much the same way, revolving around our jobs, our routines, and the heavy expectations of the people around us. We are often terrified of becoming untethered, of losing our place, our purpose, our gravitational pull. But what happens when that gravitational order is permanently broken? What happens to a world when it is cast out, forced to leave the only system it has ever known? What if, out in the vastness, being untethered holds its own profound, unexpected peace? Tonight, we are going to drift quietly alongside some of the most isolated objects in the entire galaxy, the rogue planets. These are worlds that don't orbit any star. They belong to no system and they answer to no sun. They have no dawn to wake them and no dusk to put them to rest, because they have no morning at all. They drift silently, completely unbothered, through the immense, frigid voids of interstellar space. Imagine a world, cast out from its home, drifting in the endless dark for billions of years. Our first thought, our human instinct, might be loneliness, desolation, a terrifying void. But what if, for these silent wanderers, isolation isn't death, but the ultimate form of deep, undisturbed peace? Astronomers theorize that the birth of a rogue planet is almost always the story of ancient gravitational chaos. In the early, restless days of a forming solar system, when giant planets are still settling into their paths, jostling for position, the gravitational tug-of-war can become violently unstable. It's a cosmic game of billiards on a scale we can barely fathom. If two massive worlds pass too close to one another, the physical interaction acts like an unimaginably powerful cosmic slingshot. One planet might be shoved inward into a safer, tighter orbit, finding a new equilibrium. But the other is hurled violently outward. It's pushed past the escape velocity of its own star, severed from its birthplace forever. It leaves the warm, bright neighborhood of its birth, drifting outward into the endless, absolute night of the galaxy. And there, it continues its quiet journey in the dark for billions upon billions of years, a true testament to cosmic solitude and resilience. When we first think about a rogue planet, our human instinct is usually to project our own fear of loneliness onto it. We imagine a frozen, dead corpse of a world, tumbling blindly through a terrifying void, utterly lifeless. But if we change our perspective, if we look just a little closer, we might realize that isolation doesn't necessarily mean death. In fact, for a rogue planet, being cast into the dark might be the ultimate form of deep, undisturbed peace. A planet flung into the interstellar void doesn't automatically lose everything that made it a world. If it is a massive planet, like a gas giant or a large, dense super-Earth, its gravity is likely strong enough to take its entire atmosphere with it, holding on to its vital blanket of gases. And a thick atmosphere, especially one heavy with hydrogen gas, acts as an incredibly powerful insulating blanket, wrapping the world in a protective embrace. But you might wonder, where does the heat come from if there is no star shining down from above to warm it? The answer seems to lie deep within. Deep inside the rocky core of the planet, the slow, steady decay of radioactive elements generates a quiet, constant warmth, a subtle, internal furnace. Plus, the immense, violent heat left over from the ancient collisions that originally forged the planet is likely still trapped down there, sealed safely beneath thousands of miles of compressed rock and gas, slowly radiating outwards. On Earth, this internal heat occasionally vents through volcanoes or shifts tectonic plates, revealing its power. But on a rogue planet, sealed beneath a thick, heavy sky or a crust of miles thick ice, this heat becomes a self-sustaining lifeline. It rises slowly and patiently from the core, warming the deep interior of the world, even as the uppermost outer layers face the absolute freezing zero of deep space. I want you to imagine a rocky rogue world, entirely covered in a global, unbroken shell of thick ice. The surface is completely dark, illuminated only by the faint, distant, silver pinpricks of background stars. A silent, glittering ceiling. The silence on the surface is absolute, a profound stillness, and the cold is beyond any human measure. But deep beneath that protective, frozen armor, the internal heat of the planetary core is quietly doing its work, keeping the water liquid. Many planetary scientists suggest that, hidden away from the rest of the universe, wrapped in a blanket of eternal, protective darkness, there could be a vast, global ocean. An ocean that is warm, fluid, and circulating peacefully in the quiet deep. No solar flares can ever reach it to strip its atmosphere away. No asteroid impacts from a crowded solar system can ever disturb its surface. It is a perfectly isolated sanctuary, a completely self-sustaining world that carries its own private warmth through the absolute quietest stretches of the galaxy. Deep beneath that protective, frozen armor, a quiet miracle unfolds. The planet carries its own fire, its own warmth, sustaining a vast, secret ocean, a testament to life's enduring possibility even in the most unlikely of places. There is a profound, life-altering lesson hidden in the quiet endurance of these rogue planets. We so often feel that we desperately need an external source of light, or validation, or structure to simply survive our days. We fear being disconnected from our usual systems, our daily routines, and the loud, spinning orbits of society. But a rogue planet proves, on a cosmic scale, that you don't always need a sun to survive. Sometimes, true peace is only found in the quiet, empty dark. Sometimes, withdrawing from the exhausting noise of the system, stepping away into the quiet, and relying entirely on your own internal warmth is the absolute safest place you can be. You have your own deep reserves of energy. You have your own quiet strength hidden deep beneath the surface, keeping you whole and safe even in the darkest, most isolated hours of the night. But even planets that haven't been cast into the void, planets that still orbit their stars, can find a strange, beautiful kind of isolation. Let us drift back, just for a moment, to those tidally locked worlds we spoke of earlier, the ones with iron rain and supersonic winds, the planets that are permanently divided into a searing, endless dayside and a frozen, eternal nightside. We talked about the violent winds trying to balance those extremes, but there is a specific, magical region on these planets that offers a completely different kind of sanctuary. It is called the Terminator Line. It is the narrow, permanent twilight zone where the eternal day perfectly meets the eternal night. If you were to stand exactly in this zone, the sun would sit perpetually on the horizon. It would neither rise into the sky nor set into the dark, casting long, endless, beautiful shadows across the quiet landscape. To your left, you would feel the radiating heat of a permanent, blistering noon, a constant, fiery presence. To your right, you would sense the icy, forbidding grip of a permanent midnight, a deep, unyielding cold. But right here, exactly where you are standing in the twilight, the temperatures find a way to balance. It is a delicate, fragile harmony, a very narrow belt of calm wrapped like a protective ribbon around an otherwise hostile and extreme world. It's a place of absolute stability, a thin, quiet line drawn exactly between two overpowering forces. For some worlds, balance isn't found in a stable orbit, but in a delicate dance between extremes. The Terminator Line, where eternal day meets eternal night, and for a narrow band, temperatures find a quiet harmony. This twilight zone reminds us that perfect balance is rarely a global state. We can't realistically expect our entire lives, every single hour of every single day, to be perfectly regulated and comfortable. More often than not, we are forced to live in the twilight zones of our own minds. We find small, quiet pockets of peace somewhere between the heavy stresses of our daytime obligations and the quiet anxieties of our nights. We learn to walk that narrow line, finding our stability not in the complete absence of extremes, but in the quiet, still space right between them. It's a profound lesson in finding peace within the tension, rather than demanding the tension disappear. So, as you let yourself sink even deeper into the mattress tonight, I want you to think of those wandering rogue worlds hidden in the deep dark. Think of the warm, liquid oceans surviving silently beneath miles of protective ice, sustaining themselves in perfect, undisturbed silence. Think of the narrow twilight zones, maintaining their delicate, beautiful balance against all odds. You don't need to be an active part of a loud, spinning, chaotic system to find your peace tonight. You can find it right here, in the quiet of this room, in the safety of the dark, relying on absolutely nothing but the slow, steady rhythm of your own breath. Let the rogue planets drift. Let the twilight shadows stretch across the alien dust. And let yourself drift right alongside them, untethered, safe, and completely free. Your own rhythm is your guide now. And so, having journeyed through the quiet resilience of untethered worlds and the delicate balance of cosmic twilight, we now prepare for our gentle return. We've traveled an unimaginable distance together tonight, haven't we, my fellow voyager? We left the fragile safety of our own solar system to wander through the beautiful chaos of the deeper galaxy. We dipped our imaginations into oceans of liquid fire churning beneath unblinking stars, and felt the heavy iron rain falling through completely alien skies. We explored worlds made of solid diamond, their secrets buried under immense pressure, and contemplated the impossible force of supersonic winds tearing across gas giants. We drifted alongside lonely, silent rogue planets, carrying their own hidden warmth through the absolute freezing dark, and marveled at the fragile peace found along the Terminator lines. Through every strange sky and every unyielding core, through every cosmic spectacle, we have seen how the universe stretches, breaks, and rearranges reality with a profound and unapologetic beauty, reminding us of the ultimate impermanence of all things. Through all of these violent, magnificent extremes, through every cosmic vista that challenged our earthly understanding, you have remained perfectly safe. You've observed the cosmic scales from the quiet, still sanctuary of your own room, your breath steady, your mind gently expanding. There was no need for fear, only for wonder. The universe is vast, inventive, and completely indifferent to the small, rigid schedules we build our earthly lives around. The strange planets will continue to orbit, the distant stars will continue to burn, and the rogue worlds will continue to wander, performing their silent, majestic physics. Whether you are awake to worry about them or not, they are simply being. In their own magnificent way, and in their unwavering existence, there is a profound reassurance. There is absolutely nothing left for you to solve tonight. The day is entirely finished, and it is truly time to let it go. Let the heavy gravity of your day dissolve, like a distant star fading into the cosmic dust. Let the strange skies and the distant suns fade gently into the background of your awareness. The boundaries of your world have shrunk back down to the edges of your bed, to the comforting presence of your pillow, and that is exactly where they should be. The universe doesn't need your input tonight. It simply asks you to rest. It holds everything in its vast embrace, allowing you to release your grip. If you ever need to escape the heavy gravity of your daily life again, if you need another glimpse into the vast, calming indifference of the cosmos, you know where to find me. This journey, this quiet exploration, is always here for you. It's a shared path we walk, guided by curiosity and the gentle pull of the unknown. Tonight, as we conclude our drift, I'm left wondering, which of these cosmic wonders, these strange and beautiful worlds, offered you the most profound sense of peace, or perhaps the most striking lesson in letting go? Was it the fiery oceans, the diamond heart, the iron rain, or the silent wanderings of a rogue planet? I'd be truly honored if you would share your thoughts in the comments below. It's always fascinating to hear what resonates most deeply with each fellow traveler on this journey. Your perspective enriches our shared understanding. And if these quiet voyages, these moments of cosmic perspective, bring you a sense of calm and wonder, please consider quietly subscribing to the Sleepy Science podcast. Your support helps us continue these explorations, bringing more of the universe's gentle wisdom into your nights. It's a quiet way to keep our shared adventure going. But for now, simply surrender to the quiet. Let the universe turn without you needing to push it. Let the chaotic universe take the watch while you drift safely and deeply away into sleep. Sleep well, my fellow voyager, and good night. The airlock is open, the tether is released, and the endless dark is waiting for your peaceful dreams.